Michigan Out of Doors Online is brought to you in part by Big Fish Charter Services in Elginak. Experience a world-class muskie fishery on Lake St. Clair for predator fishing or a once-in-a-lifetime trip on the St. Clair River to tangle with a prehistoric lake sturgeon at Big Fish Charter Services. It's all about big fish. And by
quick and easy setup. Silent operation. 360-degree shooting. Triops 360. No limitations.
Well, everybody, welcome to Michigan Out of Doors. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We have got a brand new show this week, and it has a lot of variety on it as well. We're going to start by doing something that's fairly typical this time of the year, and that is walleye fishing on Saginaw Bay. You won't want to miss that story. Some very good fishing happening out of the Port of Linwood right now. After that, we're going to tag along with a father and son photography team that is doing a phenomenal job of highlighting the state of Michigan. To kind of see the entire state of Michigan through their lens, you're not going to want to miss that story. And we're going to end this week's show by doing something that I don't think we've ever done here on Michigan Out of Doors television before, and that is show you a story on banding eagles. You ever wonder what it's like to crawl up into an eagle's nest at 70 feet in the air? Well, you're going to get to see that on this week's show. Lots of good stuff on this week's program, so you stay tuned. I'm Jimmy Gretzinger. It's time for Michigan Out of Doors.
From the first spring rains to the soft summer breeze, dancing on the pine forest floor, the autumn colors catch your eyes. Here come the crystal winter skies. It's Michigan, Michigan out of doors. Someday our children all will see this is their finest legacy, the wonder and the love of Michigan. As the wind comes whispering through the trees, the sweet smell of nature's in the air. From the Great Lakes to the quiet stream, shining like a sportsman's dream, it's a love of Michigan we all share.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by Greenstone Farm Credit Services, making recreational land ownership possible across Michigan and northeast Wisconsin. Begin your land financing journey at one of Greenstone's 37 locations or visit greenstonefcs.com. By G5 Outdoors, makers of the Quest and Prime bows. Manufactured and designed in Memphis, Michigan, G5 offers archery bows, broadheads, and accessories. On the web at g5outdoors.com. By Country Smokehouse, offering a variety of meat products. Country Smokehouse is located 3 miles south of I-69 on M53, just south of Imlay City. Country Smokehouse is a meat processor, a butcher, and a destination for sportsmen.
We all have one. That perfect spot. A special place we go to smooth out the ripples of the day. Our perfect spot is calling. Our perfect spot is pure Michigan. Your trip begins at michigan.org.
Hi, I'm Jordan Brown. For this week's show, I was on Saginaw Bay covering the annual Linwood Walleye Classic with a couple of the guys from Frank's Great Outdoors.
We're here at the 2013 Linwood Classic. It's here out of Linwood, Michigan. This is an ongoing tradition here for the local community for the Linwood Classic. It's been going on longer than I've probably been walleye fishing, so goes back into the early 90s. It's always been sponsored by the Linwood Civic Improvement and co-sponsored by the Saginaw Bay Walleye Club. And the Saginaw Bay Walleye Club and their volunteers run this event. It's all local fishermen, it's families, husbands, wives. A lot of guys will bring their families or bring their kids out and fish. So it's definitely not a professional event, but it's a well-organized, fun event.
The plan today was pretty basic. Start out with a variety of crankbaits and crawler harnesses and see what the fish were after. The weather conditions had finally straightened out. After a questionable start pushed the tournament back an hour, the guys were anxious to start putting fish in the boat.
Every time I get on camera, I lose fish. Sorry, folks. Feels like a decent one. Hopefully I don't lose it.
Today we're at Linwood Beach Marina and Campgrounds right here in the heart of Linwood. It's a Linwood Classic annual event for quite some time now. We were basically trolling for walleye today, trying to get the biggest 5 fish, and there was 49 boats in the event, and it turned out to be a pretty good day. It was looking a little shaky at first, but everything blew over, and they let us go an hour late. But fishing was real good. We thought we might catch a few on the crawlers, but the crankbait bite was on, and the speed was right, and that was happening for us. There'll be schools of fish moving around out there. You just move through them. You know, you'll catch a couple, 3 here, and you get down after a little while. You don't catch anything. You pick up and go back up and run back down through them, and that seems to be the pattern. You know, it works out pretty good. It's always easier to troll with the waves and keep everything, you know, copacetic with what's going on.
It didn't take long, and we started to find fish, and it became clear that today was going to be a crankbait day. However, finding tournament fish was going to take some extra effort. As usual for the bait, we were going to have to weed through some smaller fish, hoping to find a few big ones.
Most of my summers are spent running walleye tournaments. The Michigan Walleye Tour and some of these local events like the Linwood Classic for the Saginaw Bay Walleye Club. So it's rare that I get a chance to actually go out and go fishing. So today was kind of a little bit of a bonus. We fished just north of Pinconning, anywhere from 9 to 14 feet of water. Ran primarily 3/8 rattle tots with a few thunder sticks in there, mixed in there. And like I said, I know we caught well over 20 fish. And it just got to be what color weren't they biting on at some point, and it didn't really seem to matter. We caught fish in all depths, anywhere from 20 feet back behind the board as far as 40 feet back, and a rainbow of colors. So color doesn't seem to matter. The population of walleyes out here in the bay is very strong right now. The year class is big, and it's going to be a great summer. Numbers-wise, it's going to be a great summer for catching walleyes out here in the bay. Triple, we're going for a quad. We got another one going. Pizza.
No, it was a piece of cake today, man. Anything from 10 to 30 foot back was pretty much money, and we were in you know, 9 to 13 foot of water, just up towards the Pinconning Bar. This is actually the first time I've ever fished in this tournament. I've helped out a few times and did a little bit of different things for it, but actually the first time I had a chance to fish in it, it's been a blast.
Well, our tournament hours start at 7 in the morning. This morning we had a little weather delay with some severe weather in the area, so we held them off until 8 o'clock. And they fished till 3 o'clock. We have no limit on the number of boats, but this year we had 50 boats in the tournament, and there was a guaranteed first place prize of $3,000. This is the first year ever we've put up that kind of money for a guaranteed first place pot. So not too bad for one day of fishing. Most of these guys are weekend fishermen, they're fishing anyway, so now you got a chance to take home some money. And we're also paid down to 10th place, so there's some additional prizes as well.
We had an excellent day of fishing, but struggled to put a couple of the really nice fish we needed in the boat. And after spending the day on the water, it was time to head back in to the weigh-in.
Well, our boats leave, like I said, they leave out 7 o'clock in the morning. They're due back in to check in out here on the bay at 3 p.m. We have a boat out there that monitors the check-in procedure, make sure nobody's late. And as the boats are checked in, they're called in to the docks here behind us in numerical number, and they're going to pull their 5 best fish of the day. They're allowed to keep their legal limit, but they weigh their 5 best fish, and they bring them up to our stage. We have certified scales. We will bump the fish to make sure they're of legal length, and then we'll put them on the scale, get the weight certified, and at the end of the tournament, we'll crown a winner. Typically, on average in the past, it's been anywhere from 18 to 24 pounds to win. Last year was a little bit later in June, and the fish were schooled up a little bit more. This year, I'm guessing probably around the same. I would say probably 22 pounds would take it.
Well, our 15 pounds didn't quite cut it, but we had a great time on the water, and that's what this tournament is really about.
Well, fishing on Saginaw Bay is always a lot of fun, and what a great way to put some walleye fillets in the freezer, thanks to all those guys that were part of that story. What we're gonna do now is actually tag along with a father and son team. They are a group of photographers, and they actually have a new book out called Tuesdays, where they traveled all over the state of Michigan, and to see the state of Michigan through their eyes, it's pretty special. When it comes to documenting our great state in photos, it's hard to beat the father and son team of Brad and Todd Reed. Located in Ludington, these photographers cover our state, and you have most likely seen their work on billboards all around Michigan. And if you would like, you can stop in their studio and chat with them this summer and see some of their latest work.
I've been a photographer for well over 40 years. Started out as a journalist, mainly a writer. Came to the Ludington Daily News, and Russ Miller, the chief photographer, handed me a camera and said, take some pictures too. And he was a good teacher, and I guess, because, you know, he just sent me out there and said, you gotta just go do it, you know, to learn. And I went from being a news photographer over the years, 23 years there, started doing a lot more art photography and art fairs, teaching at the college, teaching photography, at the same time also being a part-time Coast Guardsman, full-time part of the year for my last of 33 years in the Coast Guard. And so I've multitasked, but that's given me, all those things together have given me a great exposure and a great appreciation for the outdoor world.
Todd and Brad Reed have produced several books over the years, but what drew me to their studio a few weeks back was the release of their newest book titled Tuesdays with Todd and Brad Reed, a Michigan Tribute. A very special book highlighting our entire state.
Brad got the idea, let's just shoot one day a week instead of 7, and let's just make it our golf day. Let's shoot all day, you know? And so it was almost like when we take off for deer season and you say, today we're deer hunting. Nothing in the world is getting in the way of it, you know? It was like a kid in a candy store. And so it was, as soon as he came up with that idea, it was abundantly clear that that was what to do.
We kind of had two different kinds of Tuesdays. One Tuesday there would be a definite destination in mind, and normally we would meet at McDonald's, say at 4 or 5 in the morning, eat breakfast, leave a vehicle there, hop in either my truck or my dad's Suburban, and we would head out and we would photograph our way to that destination. You know, it might be an hour away, it might be 4 hours away. And we tried to take a lot of back roads to those destinations to kind of photograph the unseen or the forgotten parts of Michigan. And then we would get on location, and you know, whatever the light was that Tuesday, that's what we had to shoot. And you had to get creative sometimes. And we'd shoot what we went to photograph and then get back in the car, get on our cell phones and Google Earth and take a different route home and photograph, and often get home at 2 or 3 in the morning. And you know, so that was kind of one type of Tuesday. Another type was where it was more like wanderlust. My dad would get in his Suburban and go just wander around all over the state, no real destination. I would get in my truck and go a different direction, and we would just stop, talk to people, say, hey, what's fun to photograph around here? You know, what are some of the key things? And they would give us directions. And you know, gas stations and fast food joints were great places. We stopped at a lot of local like bar, restaurant type places and meet local people and say, hey, if you were gonna do a book on Michigan in this area, what would you shoot? And people really went out of their way to, you know, they'd get in their car and say, follow me. And we'd follow them, and they'd take us to this glorious hidden spot. And so that was kind of the other kind of Tuesday, where we just drove around and wandered around the state.
The Reed boys treat outdoor photography like a contact sport, which I can appreciate. They like to get right into the mix when trying to capture an image.
Great day. This is my idea of pure Michigan. This is just purely the best of the best. I love storms, and this is a great one. Brad and I are just in heaven out here in South Haven, Michigan.
That was a clip from one of the DVDs that accompany this newest book, and it helps tell the story of what it's like to travel around this great state capturing its beauty, which is one of the reasons these guys produced this book in the first place.
We wanted to grow our customer base, and we wanted to help people all around the world realize that Michigan is the place to come, and it's not just Detroit. There's, all kinds of beauty in Michigan. Sleeping Bear Dune was voted the most beautiful place in America. I would argue that Lake of the Clouds at Porcupine Mountain is one of the best views in the world. I'd never been there, I'd never even heard of it until doing this book. So doing the Tuesdays book was awesome because we got to be tourists in our own state. So every Tuesday, we got to go adventure, discover, rediscover the state. And it was so cool.
This book, of all our books, is to me by far the best book, and it's by far the culmination, I'd say, of all of our talents that we've developed over the years, our skill level, but also our heart for and our knowledge of not only our home area, which we call Point to Point, from Big Point Sauble at Ludington State Park to Low Point Sauble at Silver Lake. That's kind of home base, but also our love of Michigan and our taking our talents and exploring even further. Going not only to the places that over the years we had enjoyed for vacations, but going to hidden corners and also just wonderful places that we just didn't get around to, like a lot of people. And finally we got to the Lake of the Clouds. Finally we got to spend more time in Pictured Rocks, where we'd only been once before. And so that was the real beauty of the project.
If you're in the Ludington area this summer, you can stop in and see firsthand the photos that Todd and Brad have on display. We will have their contact info at the end of the show if you'd like some more information about the book. As someone who travels this great state quite a bit, it's always fun to see it through the eye of some great photographers. So whether it's on a Tuesday or maybe just on some weekend getaway, get out and enjoy Michigan's Out of Doors.
For our next story, I was down on the Detroit River, and instead of chasing walleyes around, I was actually taking part in one of the more unique stories I've ever been involved with. Today I was tagging along with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, hoping to band a bald eagle. Many people around the state have noticed a dramatic increase in the number of bald eagles. This once rarely seen bird can now be found on just about every major water system throughout the state. So I set out to learn more about this increase and also get up close and personal with an eagle family on the Detroit River, tagging along with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Eagle Banding Team.
Historically, there were 3 areas in the state which harbored eagle populations back in the 50s and 60s. One was in the central UP, one was in the northern lower, and one was essentially outside of Michigan in Ohio. And from those 3 areas, the population has spread out from there. And particularly down here in southern lower Michigan, the population is really starting to grow and moving south further. And so larger numbers are occurring down in the south here. The habitats are pretty much, the prime habitats are occupied, and now we're finding eagles in, and doing successfully in, habitats that would be considered suboptimal. We're finding them in agricultural areas and fence rows. We're finding them on golf courses. We're finding them in small airports. We're finding them in backyard situations. And they seem to be coexisting quite well with the human presence. Part of the reason is that they do nest really early in the year when most humans aren't out and about doing much. So there is this period of low human density outside at the time when they're breeding. So that possibly has led to some use of what would be considered suboptimal habitat.
The nest we were investigating today was more than 70 feet off of the ground, and on this windy day, just reaching the nest was no easy feat. I had our climber, Jeremy Moore, take me through the process of preparing for the climb.
You know, you get a little excited, you get a little adrenaline flow knowing you're going to be climbing. You know, it's not a natural state for a human being to be climbing in a tree per se, but you know, you're as safe as your equipment, and our equipment is safe, and we trust our equipment. So it's a matter of ascending the tree, being as calm and collected as I can, trying not to overexert myself. So when I do get to the nest, you know, I'm in a good, calm state of mind, and I can, you know, do my best to secure the eaglet and ensuring that it's, you know, it's safe and it's lowered to the ground safely, and the measurements are taken of the bird down on the ground.
Once Jeremy made it to the nest, only half of the work was done. Now it was time to secure the eaglet and lower it to the ground where a more complete examination could be done.
Take a few moments when I get to the nest to let the bird get accustomed to me slightly. Initially, obviously, they're a little surprised to see a human being at eye level with them, so I'll you know, take a little bit of a breather, get myself further adjusted, and make sure I'm secure when I'm going to make my attempt at obtaining the bird. And once I'm secure, I'll open up the bird bag, the eagle bag that we used, which is a nylon material, lightweight, and I'll open it up, have it clipped to the rope, and have that ready. And I have what's called basically a farmer's chicken hook, which is adapted, and it's on a telescoping pole. And I'll run that you know, at the bottom below the bird, and hook onto above one of its talons, and continue to apply pressure and pull the bird toward me. And when I do that, typically the bird will lie prone and lie down. And then when it does that, I'll grab that talon that I have the chicken hook around, and then I'll try to reach and grab the other talon and get both talons in one, or at least a grip above each of the talons in one hand, and then try to grab one of the primaries of one of the wings and have that in the same hand as well. So basically I've got a wing and both talons under control, and at that point I'll use my free hand and try to position the bird so it goes in the bag head first and cover the head. Typically when you cover the head of a bird, it'll calm down. And they are fairly calm anyway, but it's in a more secure state at that point. And once I have it in the bag, I stitch it down and get ready to lower it down to the ground.
Once the bird hits the ground, Dave and the rest of the team scramble to get the necessary test done as fast as possible to ensure the eaglet returns to the nest quickly.
Well, we've been biomonitoring eagles in Michigan, doing collection of samples for contaminant analysis since the mid-1980s in one form or another. So we've been going at it for quite a few years now. So our involvement has been in both monitoring nest sites as well as collection of samples in the extreme southern lower peninsula of Michigan. So we try and do as many nest sites as possible that are on the priority list, and the priority list are some of the major river systems as well as the Great Lakes shorelines and a select few watersheds. So we collect blood, which we use both for heavy metals in the whole blood and spun down serum for organic chlorines, pesticides, DDT, dieldrin, PCBs. We also take a few breast feathers that we do mercury on. We take some blood droplets for DNA sampling. And we do a series of physical measurements at age and sex the eaglets to within a few days of aging anywhere, and somewhat reliable sexing as long as the birds are fairly old, probably over 45 days, and then we can sex them pretty accurately.
It's hard to believe that this eagle wasn't even 2 months old, and although his looks would say otherwise, he was still quite young. Young eagles are something we are likely to continue seeing more of in the near future.
Up through this year, the population has steadily increased and is probably well over 800 breeding pairs throughout throughout both the lower and the upper peninsulas. This year alone in the lower peninsula, we've added over 40 new breeding pairs in Michigan. So the population is really taking over.
This pair of eagles have been using this site for the past 4 years, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has banded eaglets here for the past 3. It was really something to see an eagle on the ground, and the views from the nest are views that most people will never see. Special thanks to everyone involved and to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service for letting me tag along.
Well, hey everybody, thank you so much for watching Michigan Out of Doors this week. A few quick things before we go. If you missed part of this week's show or last week's show, want to see what we've been up to, you can always check out our website at michiganoutofdoorstv.com. We have full episodes of the show there and lots of other fun stuff. And if you do the Facebook thing, we're on there updating you as we kind of travel around the state of Michigan and try to bring you a brand new show every week of the year. Coming up over the next several weeks, lots of good stuff. We are going to do some stuff on the new deer regulations and how that's going to affect you as a sportsman, as a deer hunter this upcoming year. We also have a recipe on how to do ribs over an open fire. You're definitely going to want to see that story. And we've been also doing, of course, a lot of fishing, some big lake stuff, some small inland lake stuff. Lots of good things happening this time of the year if you're a sportsman in the great state of Michigan. And hopefully, we'll see you right back here next week on your PBS station.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by the Michigan chapters of Safari Club International. For over 40 years, SCI has been protecting hunters' rights and promoting wildlife conservation here in Michigan and around the world. SCI chapter locations can be found on the web at firstformichigan.org. By Rosie Brothers. Located in Dryden, Michigan, Rosie Brothers has been serving Michigan for over 40 years. Specializing in outdoor needs, Rosie Brothers features Kubota tractors and equipment for use in farm, home, or commercial needs. On the web at rosiebrosinc.com. By Propane, Clean American Energy. Propane retailers promote the safe use of Michigan-produced gas energy in homes, farms, and businesses across our great state. Learn more at usemichiganpropane.com. By Pictured Rocks Boat Cruises of Munising, exploring Lake Superior's Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore with its sandstone cliffs, caves, waterfalls, and lighthouses. Pictured Rocks Boat Cruises on the web at picturedrocks.com. Closed captioning is provided by the Michigan Propane Gas Association, Clean American Energy. Propane realtors promote the safe use of Michigan-produced gas to outdoor enthusiasts across our great state.
When I wander far away, a dream stays with me night and day. It's the road that leads to my home state. I am a Michigan man. Changing seasons paint the scene like rainbow trout in a hidden stream. The white-tailed deer in the tall pine trees. I am